TCI studio. Will and I had planned on getting together today to do some videos that we'd run next few days, and wham, this morning we got a new topic to talk about. Obviously a big morning of news. You guys probably have already read about it on TCI, but we wanted to take some time and talk a little bit about the news of the day. Darian Kendrick has decided to, or he had decided, Clemson has basically kicked him off the football team. Mm-hmm. So he will not be a Tiger anymore. We've got that confirmed with several sources. Will, I'll let you talk a little bit here in a minute about what you found out about that. But, you know, obviously we were sitting here in January. We were excited because, you know, a lot of people thought Kendrick might go in the draft. We're like, oh, cool, he's coming back. Man, that'll give Clemson two great corners. And here we are just a month later, and he's not with the football team.
Yeah, so basically what happened was when Darian decided to come back, he had a sit-down conversation with Coach Sweeney. And it was basically like, here's the rules, okay? Because as we know, he was in the Love Shack for most of last year. Missed a couple
I don't think it was a Love Shack anymore.
Well, no, it's not. It's not the Love Shack anymore.
Dabo called it Love Shack, but now he's off the team, so it ain't no Love Shack.
No, and so, but anyway, he was in and out of the proverbial doghouse, if you will, for most of last season and the year before. Let's not remember a couple years before he got some discipline issues as well. So Dabo kind of sat him down when he decided he was coming back. Said, "Hey, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's some ground rules." They were pretty strict, from what I understand, from what I was told. Dabo basically, said, "Hey, you have to follow these rules," and that's not what happened. Kendrick put himself in position again where Dabo was very disappointed with what happened, and kind of things came to a head, and the result is what we found out this morning, that Darian Kendrick is no longer on the football team. And from what I heard inside the program, that the team's kind of ready to move on. They're kind of like tired of it, if you will, and they're kind of ready to move on. They know that yes, he was a big part, and he would have been a great addition to have back again. But at the same time, I think they're just tired. From what I heard, they're just tired of it. Like, there's just constant issue there in the locker room, and they were just kind of tired of it, tired of the his antics, if you will. And so, as a whole program overall, not just Dabo Sweeney, the program overall is ready to move on without Darian Kendrick.
All right, we're going to talk in a minute, Will, about what does this mean to the team, but I want to talk about a couple other things first off. Yeah, Darian was a good kid. Went and saw him twice in high school. Saw one game. Gavin and I went to one of his playoff games where he scored like 6 touchdowns himself in that game. I mean, he was just an unbelievable athlete. Had a lot of promise. I guess 2 things I want to touch on here. First off, you wonder, obviously he made that switch to corner. Mm-hmm. You wonder what it would have been like if he had stayed at receiver. You know, last year Clemson certainly could have used him at receiver. Right. With a lot of the other guys being banged up and stuff, and you wonder, had he stayed at receiver last year, if he had a big time season there, would he definitely have gone on to the NFL? And the other thing is, now that he's been kicked off the team, does he regret not going ahead and going to the NFL draft in January?
Yeah, I'm sure he probably is, and it'll be interesting to see what he does here. Does he transfer? We know as of Sunday morning, he was not in the transfer portal. We can definitely tell you that. But so what does it mean? Does he put himself in there later on and decide to move to another school and understand that he's a true senior? So, and I don't know what the rules are because COVID's different. Does he have to sit out a year or not? We'll see. And then,
nobody sits out.
And of course, you got the waiver rules. The NCAA is kind of giving people. So he might be able to transfer and play right away. We don't know. Also, does he graduate maybe this summer? And that would help, obviously. He can definitely play then with no issues. Or does he just go ahead and say, I'm done with school altogether? Because, that maybe he's just tired of school. We don't know, but maybe he's just tired of school and doesn't want to deal with it anymore. So maybe he goes into the supplemental draft, the NFL supplemental draft. Clemson had a player do that a few years ago. But the chance with that is if you don't get drafted like that first round in the supplemental draft, then even though you get drafted maybe in the 3rd round or whatever, which is generally what teams do, it'll be that 3rd or 4th round, they'll pick you up. You're basically coming in as a free agent. So you're taking a real risk by jumping yourself into the supplemental draft. So he's got some choices to make here, but I'm sure right now he's kicking himself. And like you said, Robert, the times we've related to him, he seems like a good kid. He always is smiling, seems happy-go-lucky. just because, I don't know what the situations are or what we want to report exactly what situations are because that's none of our business to say. But the kid's a good kid for the most part. I don't want people to get the wrong idea of this young man. It just didn't work out at Clemson.
Well, the supplemental draft option to me seems like probably a hard move after you just got kicked off a football team. Because we know how thorough NFL teams are. They're going to find out exactly why. They're going to talk to Dabo about the doghouse, not the love shack, because we all know it was really the doghouse. And Dabo tried to play it a little bit differently last year. And obviously, things didn't work out there. I just hope if he does go transfer portal that he does not follow the Tavian Feaster path. I mentioned that, half joking, but South Point High School, same high school Clowney came from, same high school that South Carolina's been very successful getting players from in the past. Rock Hill's, good recruiting area for them. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, obviously we'd have a lot of teams lining up to try to get Darian once he does go in the transfer portal, if he goes that route, which I think is where he's headed. But, he'll have the cream of the cream, and we could see him at, one of the playoff teams and end up playing against Clemson versus playing against them in November. So that's a little bit about just kind of tossing around from a Darian side. Now let's go quickly to what does this mean for Clemson? One thing I thought of today when the news came out, and we were like, it's not a big deal when we heard the other guy go in the transfer portal, Anthony Williams, also a corner. At the time, it's like, depth chart's just not there. Okay, now we got two guys off the depth chart. I still think there are other guys in front of Williams, but now, again, you've lost two guys.
Two seniors.
Two guys with some leadership capabilities. You got one freshman coming in, Nate Wiggins, who played corner, and he's already here. And then you got a bunch of guys that got experience last year. Goodrich, Michael Green, who played the dime, but also we think obviously could be a really good corner. And you've got other guys there, Jones, and you got a lot of guys now that are going to be battling for that spot.
There is, if you go back to, let's look at the depth chart, Sugar Bowl depth chart, or even before that, we knew that Mario Goodrich was the guy behind him on the depth chart. However, when Andrew Booth missed games, Mario started the last 3 games because Booth was injured with that high thigh bruise. So Mario instantly came. So that tells you that what they think of Mario as a starter. So I would imagine Mario's going to get first option there. He's going to, I think, you're going to see, Coach Reed maybe go with him first. Then you got Andrew Booth, and I think Sheridan Jones kind of on that other side. They kind of last year alternated starts there. And then I think behind him, behind Mario, I should say, is where the question mark comes. Who's going to be that guy next? Malcolm Green probably is the first to come to mind, would be the backup. You mentioned Wiggins, the 6'2", 180-pound, defensive back who's long and lean and very athletic. They like the way he can go up and get the ball. Kind of that tall corner now we're seeing kind of take over in college football because of the way the wide receivers are going. So, I think he kind of goes in there. If he hasn't, he's going to get a lot of reps, probably more reps than they thought. Fred Davis, let's don't forget about Fred.
Yeah,
he was here last year.
5-star kid coming to Clemson.
5-star who made some noise last year in camp, if you remember. Now, he just had a lot of talent in front of him. But now, I think they're probably ready for Fred Davis to kind of go in there and challenge Mario Goodrich. So I think that's going to be a nice little competition there. And, of course, they're also, Coach Reed, he alternates those guys on both sides. So it's not just this guy starts here, boundary, and this guy starts field. He'll play them and mix and match at both to see, who kind of fits those roles.
Yeah, so the good news is you've got a lot of talent there, some of it young talent, but, all those guys we mentioned, except for Wiggins, who just arrived, all those guys played last year.
Started.
And because of the COVID and the injuries and everything else, a lot of those guys got, fairly significant playing time.
Yeah, all of them played at least 11 games last year. Andrew Booth didn't because he was hurt for a couple games, but most of them, and he played the last year pretty much the whole season. So they've got more than 11 games of experience, let's just say. Fred Davis is the only guy of those guys that I mentioned besides Wiggins not to start. The other guys have all started at least 3 games. So you got some starting experience with everybody there when you're looking at Booth, Jones, and Goodrich. And so that's good for Clemson in that standpoint. They got 3 guys with a lot of starting experience and a lot of playing experience. And then Fred Davis played in 11 games last year up to 12. So he got some good experience with that too. And some even though Clemson fans didn't like it at the time, but he was playing in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame because of the injuries, and he picked up some valuable game experience, if you will, in that game. And then, of course, he got some more against Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech and in the ACC championship game as well. So he played a little bit more down the stretch. So I think, it's a good thing for Clemson that these guys kind of got that experience. Yeah, as I said, the silver lining in all this, Robert, I said this in my story that's on the website now. The silver lining in all this for Clemson is it happened a couple of days into camp as opposed to happening after spring camp. Because imagine if this happened after spring camp, then your freshman didn't get all these reps that he's going to get now.
No, so obviously a ton of talent there. We talked last year about how Clemson was as deep at corner as they've been, and then they bring in another good recruit in the offseason. So there's lots of guys there to fill that spot. We're going to see how the battle unfolds. So, Darian has a potential to be really, really special if he gets all of his discipline things figured out. Hopefully he does. Hopefully this is the catalyst for him to go somewhere else, get his act together, prove to the NFL folks he can do what he can do, and then move on to the NFL and play on Sundays and join all the other Clemson players that are out there. A lot of DBs from Clemson recently have moved on and been very successful. So that's a recap, kind of a quick reaction to what happened today. The news about Darian Kendrick is no longer with the Clemson football team. We got it all covered for you. We'll have more next few days. We'll get Dabo tomorrow and get his reaction after Monday's practice. So stay tuned to the Clemson Insider. We'll have it all covered for you. For the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting, stay tuned to TCI.